Welcome to another Clash Mini video. In this video, I'll be going over the stars you should prioritize unlocking on every mini, regardless of the current meta, so that trying to use them in your decks isn't actually a waste of time. Starting right away with the 0-star minis. These are usually minis that have really powerful Clash abilities, or are just really good tanks. These include the P.E.K.K.A, Mega Knight, Prince, Magic Archer, Bowler, and Fisherman. So for the first two, P.E.K.K.A and Mega Knight, these are both the big tanks that I was talking about, and their star upgrades don't really do too much to help them in their core goal, except for possibly P.E.K.K.A's 2-star, but it's very usable without it, and you usually don't upgrade 4 Elixir minis much anyway. Now for another 3, Prince, Bowler, and Fisherman, these are the ones that I was talking about earlier, the ones that have OP Clash abilities, each of these being key in disrupting the opponent's front lines, or setups, and again, none of their star abilities really help them increase the effectiveness of their Clash abilities, or their main use, overall, and so they don't need to be leveled up too much. So I would definitely recommend avoiding buying these in the shop until later on. Now finally, one that's kind of unique here is the Magic Archer. So the thing with the Magic Archer is that the rest of its abilities, they're all really good, but none of them are ever necessary. He works just fine at his job without it, and even though upgrading Magic Archer is a bit more useful than the other ones that I've listed so far, he doesn't require them to be able to do well. Now, before I start with the next set of minis, if you're interested in this kind of Clash Mini content, and some of the other content on my channel, which you should check out if you haven't, it would be greatly appreciated if you liked this video and subscribe down below. Thanks! Next up are the minis you should prioritize getting to at least 1 star, so that you're not wasting a slot in your deck by using them. Now, this list includes Electro Wizard, Battle Healer, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Spear Goblin, Healing Ranger, Witch, and the Golden Giant. Now, for the Electro Wizard, all 3 of its abilities are really good, and this is definitely one of the ones you should try to get more stars on. But until then, there's nothing wrong with just using the first star for the extra target, till you can unlock some of the other ones as well. Next up is the Battle Healer, who simply doesn't use her 2 other abilities too often, and usually only uses the extra heal 1-star ability. Now for the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Like the Electro Wizard, some of its later abilities are also useful, mainly 2-star and Dissipate. But having 1 star at the very minimum at least gives you access to one of the highest DPS units in the game. Now for the Spear Goblin. This one may seem a little weird, but overall Spear Goblin isn't great after its Clash ability, even if it gets the boast off. And its stun isn't too great either, so you usually just need the first star in order to kill off some extra targets that it normally couldn't. Then for the Healing Ranger, if you're watching pretty recently to when this video launches, you definitely want this mini 3-star, as it's pretty powerful right now in the meta. But overall, just having the extra healing is usually all you need for Healing Ranger to be able to do pretty decently. Next up for the Witch. Her first star is usually one of the more useful ones of the bunch, as it gives more effective health over the 2nd star. However, 3rd star is also really nice for helping counter Monk early on, but overall Witch isn't a great option right now in the meta anyway, so this is probably one of the ones I would avoid, at least until she gets some changes in the future. Finally, for the Golden Giant. Golden Giant's first star helps it encounter the current Wave Master incredibly well. Even though you don't see too many of them anymore, since the recent balance changes, it's still nice whenever you need it. And it also gives it a good place as anti-stun in the meta, for other options like E-Wiz, Musketeer, etc. Again, some other good options for Golden Giant are the 2nd star, which acts as almost a reverse Giant Skeleton, giving heal to allies around it, which can be nice, although currently isn't too necessary because of the abundance of Healing Rangers everywhere. Now for the minis you want to try to purchase up to 2-star. These include the Wizard, Giant Skeleton, Ice Wizard, Miner, Dark Goblin, and Knight. Starting off with what is probably another controversial pick is the Wizard, where 3rd star really gives you the clutch anti-heal. 1st and 2nd star does act as really good splash damage over time effect, and can help take down some tanky front lines pretty quickly. Next up for Giant Skeleton, this gives you access to both the extra stun and the extra damage upgrades, which are both useful in their own ways. You do miss out on 3rd star's extra range, but its recent nerf overall just isn't as useful as it once was. Then up for the Ice Wizard, its 3rd star is a little niche. You don't need to use it too often, ever, to use Ice Wizard to its full effect. Normally, just 1 and 2 star for the extra slow and area damage are enough for Ice Wizard to be an amazing unit. Then for the Miner, Cleave is great, there's no denying that, but it can still do pretty decently with its 1st and 2nd star, especially since most higher level players know how to play around Cleave. 1 and 2 star at the very minimum give you a really solid DPS unit that can help take out the opponent's backlines. Except for the Dark Goblin, its 3rd star stun is really great, but overall it's just an add-on to what is the Dark Goblin's main focus, its DPS, which both 1 and 2 star help increase. Now, 2nd star isn't as necessary as 1st star, and you don't see it used too often, but it is nice whenever it does pop off. Finally in this category, for the Knight, 2 star gives it access to the Mock ability, which is pretty useful right now in some scenarios, and also gives you access to the 1st star, an extra super duration. Now, its 3rd star is also really good, and this is probably one of the ones I would try to get 3 star as well, but again, 2 star works very well for it. For our final set of minis, those you should try to get to 3 star as quick as possible, no matter their current place in the meta. These include the Barbarian, Archer, Valkyrie, Lumberjack, Skeleton Guard, Musketeer, and Swordsman. Starting off as a group with the Barbarian, Archer, and Swordsman, these 3 all need a lot of upgrades to do well, overall, and just having access to all their options really makes them the best that they can be. Now, individually, Barbarian likes its 2 star, it's probably its best one overall, but its 3rd star boast gives it more consistent damage, and it usually triggers pretty often with its DPS. Archer, 1 and 3 star is an incredible combo, but a max Archer is also really lethal, especially when playing on mirror maps. And finally, the Swordsman, who isn't great right now, but it gives it access to chaining supers, much like the Royal Champion, as well as giving it a pretty powerful stun for being so cheap. Now, 3rd star is slightly debatable on Swordsman, as it can hurt your team if used incorrectly, but it's powerful if you know how to play around it. Next up for the Valkyrie. This is one where you just want to spam upgrades on it. Even though 1 and 2 star are objectively better, if you're running Valkyrie as your main DPS unit, you really want all 3 for it to be able to do well. Next up together are the Lumberjack and Skeleton Guard, where they both have a similar niche, and 3rd star giving them a Clash ability, both for their supers right away. Now, Lumberjacks is incredibly useful with Archer Queen, in helping get off early boost to get the super faster, which is Archer Queen's main crutch. It overall just makes it more useful with long range decks, and helps act as a backline tank to counter troops that normally would hurt your long range units. And again, similar to Lumberjack is the Skeleton Guard, which gets its super ability right away with Clash 3 star. This just makes it an effective beginning of round tank, where it'll usually have one of the highest healths of any of your minis currently out. For the final slot is the Musketeer. Now, the Musketeer works with 1 and 2 star, with 1 usually being the better of the 2 options, but 3 star giving it access to 2 targets makes up for its slow supercharge time and attack speed, and just makes it a more powerful mini with a more impactful super overall, especially when combined with one of the other 2 abilities, either in Boast, as it helps it get kills more consistently with double target, or in stunning 2 targets that normally would be a threat for longer. That's going to be it for this video. If you're interested in more content like this, check out some of my other content on this channel, even though some of it isn't currently the best. And once again, it would be appreciated if you subscribed and liked this video. Thanks for watching, and good luck on the board.